What's wonderful about this is technically Doctor Who's first Halloween special, kind of. Even though it's not. But it's the first one themed around Halloween and was broadcast on Halloween night, 31st of October 2021.
Ooh.
And we're recording this video nearly a month after Halloween.
On Halloween 2023.
Nope, it is the 21st of November as this recording of 2023. You can probably see a bit of a Halloween blanket. There you go. There's your Halloween, baby.
Every day is Halloween in this house.
Every day is Halloween for me. I've just realised that John Bishop's face is blurred out by a reflective light on the cover, as though he's anonymous. Well, he may as well have been. Welcome to Doctor Review. I'm Chris.
I'm not Chris.
And Dan Lewis, he's a plumber from Liverpool.
It's not.
Oh, sorry, yeah. He's a roofer from Liverpool. What?
Plasterer.
He's a plasterer from Liverpool. Even that's a spoiler. Shh.
Oh.
Well, it's not, is it? It's not, is it? Let's do a bonus video really quick. On the 1st of January 2021, played on TV immediately after Revolution of the Daleks, we were treated to a short preview trailer which featured a new scene called Meet Dan, in which basically the show announced that John Bishop would be joining Doctor Who as new companion Dan in the series later that year. In the same preview, he's joined by actor Craig Ells, playing his mate. They are both plasterers from Liverpool. And that's all you really learn. Obviously, it's a jokey little trailer. His mate's like reading his horoscope for the year. And your lucky number will be 13. You'll meet some new interesting people. And you'll go, look, it's a teaser to be like, hey, everybody, this comedy guy who's a pretty decent actor is going to be in Doctor Who later this year. I remember when that was announced, me being like, I felt weird about that.
Why?
Because I was like, all right, John Bishop seems like a good fit for this. He'll bring in an audience that maybe have only casually checked it out or haven't checked it out for a while. He's a good actor. He's got a really affable vibe about him. But my main sort of about it all was I was looking forward to the first series of just a female Doctor and female companion.
Mm.
And the first series in a while of just Doctor and companion.
Yeah.
The first since series 9.
Whoa.
With the Doctor and Clara.
Yeah.
Because, we had Bill and Nardole in series 10.
But not all the time.
Not all the time, but the first run where it was going to be, now we really get to focus on their relationship and the stories they take part in. And it was like, nope. Third main character, second companion. And like, oh. Alright. That being said, Dan's a really fun addition to the show. He's lovely. He brings sort of the warmth of Graham. And I'm trying to think which companion to sort of compare him to in terms of gag rate. I guess
I don't know.
I guess he's closer to Donna, really.
Not as sassy though.
Not in the same character, but in terms of the rate of gags. Because they had Catherine Tate, they need to play into the comedy safely because they knew she'd absolutely smash it.
Yeah.
So Donna would have sort of these in her thing. The comedy was more kind of her clapbacks and whatnot. Whereas with Dan, it's more these little asides where he kind of tries to make sense of stuff by grinding it into normalcy.
Yeah.
It's like, I've just got a bit lost. I'm looking for the pierhead. Things like that. Brilliant. That stuff works so well. He's a great addition. We don't really have time, as of these 3 episodes, to sort of understand what the dynamic is.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's ongoing, it's still happening. Dan's just kind of been yanked into the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy to let you know that by series end and across the specials, you kind of get a sense of this TARDIS team as a team. And it's still these guys are pretty good together.
Yeah.
They ain't no Ian, Barbara and Susan nor Vicky, they ain't, for the many sins of the actors, they ain't Chris, Billy, Noel and John, they've not got that kind of crackle, they're not Matt, Karen and Arthur.
Yeah.
But they're really fun to spend time with. This series is weird, man. You saw some of this on broadcast, didn't you?
Yeah.
You didn't see all of it, but you saw
I think
some
you're
of
gonna say
it.
Broadway then.
I watched all of this. This went out into panto season for me, so
Yeah, which is why I probably didn't watch it.
Yeah.
All because at first I'd be like, yeah, I've seen it, and then I'd be like, oh, I just can't be asked.
I was mostly comparing notes on Sunday mornings with lovely Chris Hayes because we'd get in for rehearsal or the start of the panto run and be like, what do you think? Yeah, it was really good, that bit. Yeah, I thought that was a bit naff. Yeah, I didn't understand that. And we were just like swapping notes the next morning.
Adorbs.
Or on the occasion where Chris forgot to watch it, be like, oh, don't say anything, don't spoil it.
Oh,
and then he'd iPlayer it that night and be like, oh, it's really good, that bit. Oh, I like that bit. And I was like, oh, I love Chris. I adore that man. But yeah, Flux is, I mean, we talked about this, didn't we? Can you remember, aside from series that barrel along into each other's adventures, like season 12, for example, Robot goes into Ark in Space, goes into Genesis of the Day, all that. Can you remember the other two series, apart from Flux, that are also a serialised series?
Yeah, so...
Both the classic era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Baker's... Friggity Frig, I've forgotten what it's called. It was in that lovely purple box set.
Yes, which is designed after the...
It's a cube.
Yeah, which is the
Key to Time.
Key to Time! Yes! There's a fist bump going on behind the TARDIS. And then the other one is...
Trial of a Time Lord?
Trial of a Time Lord, because it has the wraparound narrative and all the adventures... All the adventures are, court, evidence.
Yeah.
Apart from, of course, was it... what's it called? The Ultimate Foe, the final two-parter, where it's going into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flux is the first one since Trial of a Time Lord to kind of go...
Were you surprised that I got those?
No, I'm just super proud, you big nerd. And yeah, it was the first one since then to sort of go, nope, this is one story, and each episode is going to sort of be its own tale that continues on the through line, but sort of still has its own themes or gimmick or monster of the week or whatever. At least it does after the first episode. The Halloween Apocalypse is a load of old shite. That's my thoughts. What about yours?
Oh, it was just boring.
I don't think it's boring.
No, not boring. Sorry, it's like a car crash.
It's like being punched around the head multiple times.
It is.
And this was.
It's like you're on a train and you stick your head you stick your head out the window and hit every sign on the way.
And the thing is, this was like, it starts on Halloween, everybody, time to get scared. And then the first episode is just, here's 17 plot threads. Anyway, see you next week. Let's do what we've been doing recently. Let's do pros and then cons.
Okay.
Pros. I really like Carvanista's design, and I think Craig Ells, who's the other plasterer in the teaser, I think Craig Ells plays him very well. I like his big glowy axe laser gun thing. I really like Dan. I think it's weird that he just wanders into a museum and takes a tour group on a talk. Fair enough, that's kind of funny, but then when Diane, played by Nadia Albina, who's not in the series a lot, but when she is, she's a really nice touch. Their relationship, especially in episode 3, in the sort of the hallucination dream sequence version stuff, is very sweet. But the fact that Diane's not again, you're like, wait, this dude just wanders into the Museum of Liverpool and does that. That's weird.
Especially
because we don't actually see what he does day to day in the show. The only reason we know what he does day to day is because John Bishop was only allowed to talk about he's a plasterer from Liverpool up until the release of the series. Embarrassing. One of those occasions was him going on the One Show, doing promotion for something else, but it was also to promote the upcoming series of Doctor Who, and that was all he was allowed to say. And he just joked about I'm not allowed to tell you anything. You may as well not have me on here, and you're joking about it. But it's this is bad publicity. Yeah. Not him, the way he's doing it. But very, very strange. You could just say he's an average guy, and he gets pulled into an adventure he had was never
prepared
for.
Into a world that he had no idea existed.
Yeah, and is suddenly along for the ride with the Doctor and Yaz, and that's all I can tell you. But it was a lot of fun making it, and do you know what I mean? It just, there's ways around it, but it sounded like he was very strictly told, this is all you can say. So he went, all right then, that's all I'm gonna say. I like the relocation to Liverpool as sort of a bit of a hub for this series. After a couple series of Sheffield being a hub, now Liverpool, it's sort of finally, even though it's still being made in Cardiff, Bristol and London, it's still, like, it doesn't feel like we're stuck in Cardiff and London.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, a companion's home becomes a bit of a hub for the earthbound adventures of present day, I think is a nice trope that started with, Rose in 2005. Obviously, we visited companions' homes and their jobs over time, like, Tegan and Ace and stuff, but, like, this feels right.
Yeah.
Liverpool's a nice setting. Like I said, the Museum of Liverpool gets shot really well and its exterior is used really well in a lot of shots.
He did, like, point things out in the wrong direction, though. Because he was... but funnily enough, he was in the space exhibition bit. Which is...
The fact that we get shown that he is a decent person. Like, he's helping out at a food bank on his way home. The other person there's like, right, come on, take a tin, take at least one tin of soup. And he's like, no, I'm fine. There's people who need soup more than me.
Who eats soup?
And then by the time he gets home, you're like, oh, he's literally got knout in.
And he says, take the soup down.
Take the soup down. Yeah. So ultimately they go like, he's a nice dude. And he's still got sweets for the kids.
Yeah.
So he has spent money on food this week, but he bought sweets to give out to the kids. Drunk Man Knocking On feels like something that just happened to Chibnall once and he wanted to write it into the script.
I didn't understand that. That's all.
It was just a dude chancing himself to get some sweets, basically.
He definitely would have been stabbed.
Alright.
That kind of thing, that kind of person that would come around and
he was
do
holding
that.
eggs and a can of skull. Like, he wasn't any threat, he was just a nuisance.
But in real life, he would have been, like, robbed or something.
Do you think that guy was, like...
I don't think he was going to rob him.
A third cousin, twice removed from Eat My Salad Halloween Man from Sheffield?
Yeah, probably.
There you go.
I reckon he regenerated into him.
Oh yeah, so all right. So after Tim Shaw pulled his tooth out and left his body there, the body regenerated, and he wasn't holding a kebab anymore. He was holding a box of eggs.
Yeah.
And he's been wandering around for 3 years.
Yeah.
With this box of eggs till they got to Liverpool. I love the idea of the Lupari species bond. I think that's a really fun sci-fi idea.
Didn't she say man's best friend?
Well, she says man, yeah.
Mm.
But I love that idea of there's an like twin towns. There are twin planets in this species bond like agreement. Even if certain planets like Earth aren't part of like the meetings and everything to arrange this, they've been considered by whoever's organised it all that like, yeah, no, they're people who are living and they need to be looked after. And in the event of an emergency, you're going to go get them and bring them to safety.
Which is, it would normally be the other way round.
Yeah, but they're all doggos. They're looking out for people. Doesn't mean they like them. And I like the fact that Carvanista's a bit early and bloody hates the notion of keeping a stupid human around. But he still can't help himself because into episode 2 he's still like keeping an eye on him. Even after time's all warped and weird.
Mm. Cute.
I like... Yep, no, that's it. No, that's a lie. I like Swarm's design.
Really?
Yeah, but I prefer his old look. The craggly, thicker-faced version.
Is that him or is that somebody else?
That was locked up.
The old... No, the old...
It's a different actor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I think both actors who play Swarm are very good.
Yeah.
But I prefer the old one who's chained up for he sort of rejuvenates.
Yeah. So
and then the one we see in Flashback and Once Upon a Time is the same actor and stuff like...
Is that supposed to be the same character?
Yeah, that's him, before he rejuvenates. He's already older, and then when he breaks out, he like is rejuvenated.
Oh,
so that's why he's all young and spindly and in a suit. Whereas before he's older and chunkier and in like a big coat and everything.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
I like Azur's design. I think she's a little too glam to go alongside Swarm, really, in terms of like the colour scheme. But I think it's a great design. And I think the way the lady's playing her, who plays Azure... Roshenda Sandal, I think she's clearly having fun. And we sort of get hints later on explaining, so the punishment was either imprisonment or being outcast. So her imprisonment was that she was outcast, her memory erased, and as far as she was concerned, she was with Division or whoever the security people were there's a sort of implication she and her guardian have fallen in love.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't even know that she's Azure. He probably thinks that she's just another member of, like, Division who are keeping an ear out. But if they're members of Division, then why is the Doctor tracking down this murderous dog man instead of other people that are clearly connected to Division? Because at Swarm's prison site, there are two people there. One who's been keeping watch over him for centuries, who's about to hand over to another person, and they're with Division. So how is Carvanista... Now, maybe Carvanista's the only one the Doctor's managed to find out about. But it's like, turns out there are some people from Division still around, so there are options. The exile thing's weird. I like the visual effect of when they dissolve people.
They like, yeah, it's like...
crumble into ash and just sort of drift off in the wind.
It's like ashy embers. It's weird.
That
it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for pros. Any pros from you?
I like the Liverpool Museum.
Mm-hmm.
Dan's nice. I like Dan.
John Bishop's a handsome man, isn't he?
I don't...
It's something to do with... I think it's that hair on him. He looks really handsome.
I don't see it. I think I've got a bit of bias against him, though, because I worked in a place where his son came for a birthday party, and he was a tool.
His son?
Yeah.
All right.
His son was a real... Yeah, but John Bishop turned up, just to say, like, oh, this is this book in hire, this is this.
Yeah.
And just left them to it, and he was a little shit, if I'm honest. So, unfortunately, when I think of John Bishop, I think of his son, unfortunately. But yeah, the character's sweet, he's nice. I like Yaz and the Doctor.
How old was his son when you were working there? Because this was at LQ, right?
Yeah.
How old was his son when you were working there?
I can't remember.
Was he a little kid?
No.
Older kid?
Yeah.
Right, because he's got one called Joe, one called Luke, and one called Daniel, 94, 96, and 98. So one of them's a little shit. And that's not slander. We've got first-hand account. But John Bishop, do you seem like a nice guy?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, you can't... It's like, I'm sorry. I can't fully invest in John Bishop because his son's an arsehole.
Yeah, pretty much.
You heard it here first, folks. And
I'm sure he's very nice now. It was a few years ago.
Still. Doesn't help the Scouse versus Manchester thing, does it?
No.
Manc versus Scouser. I do like actually, there's another one. I like the gentle ribbon about Yorkshire from Dan to Yaz.
Yeah.
There's sort of this slight War of the Roses kind of like taking the piss out of each other thing going on, which I think is quite fun. Other pros? Wow. Okay, so the Weeping Angel sequence is really well shot. I think, is it Jamie Magnus Stone? Yeah. I think the Weeping Angel stalking Claire sequence is really well shot. And I think what we've seen of her at this point, Annabelle Scully, who plays Claire, is very likeable screen presence. But, hi, we've not met yet. Well, I've met you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's good to see you. Oh no, I think this means I'm going back now. Bye. And you're like,
what?
Huh? The problem is that comes in after 5 other plot things have been shown to you.
Yeah, exactly.
The episode clearly is trying to do here's the chessboard, here are all the pieces, here's the first move, we'll see you next week. But the problem is, everything moves along so fast, it gives you no time to care. Why is the TARDIS breaking apart? Don't care.
It's leaking.
The Sontarans are involved? In quite a funny, disgusting, that's fun. But, why? Sontarans, by the way, are played by Jonathan Watson and, of course, Dan Starkey. I like the fact that they've gone, look, we want to refresh them, but Dan does a really good job, so screw it, he's going to play some of them still. We're going to go back to what we did originally.
Cloned?
Well, that's the thing.
Or grown.
They're grown, and they're all clone batches, but they can all be slightly different. But that's the problem. Since the start of the Moffat era, every Sontaran was played by Dan, and Moffat always wrote them comedic.
Yeah.
So when they cameoed, they were comedy cameos. Now the Sontarans are inherently silly, and Chris Chibnall talked about that around the release of this series. He said they're silly, but they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So you can tightrope walk that if you're careful.
Yeah.
I think Moffat lent way too much into silly. Whereas I think Chibnall smashes it in terms of figuring out where to put them. So having Dan be in the mix is a great touch, I think. Do you know what I mean? Because it still lends the idea of like, yeah, they all come from the same place. This one kind of sounds like that older one, and like he doesn't play him anywhere near the same as he does Strax or Score, the Bloodbringer. It's closer to Score, really, isn't it? The way he plays it.
Yeah.
They look great, but anyway, like here's them in the story. Oh, and also Diane's been kidnapped by a talking house that made her walk into it, which apparently is a giant man with an Amazon skull mask on. Also, the Doctor is being horrible to Yaz.
Really mean.
Like, at the end of the last series, she opened up a little, finally, to her companions. And now you're telling me she's immediately closed up to Yaz again.
Weird.
I would rather her be like, it's eating me up inside. I have to know. And Yaz be like, right, well, let's go find out then. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather it be the two of them working toward this. Because as an internal conflict for our main characters, it just feels like Yaz is in an abusive relationship now.
It does, yeah.
It's really weird. Like, it's I don't know. I don't like this angle for the 13th Doctor. Jodie plays it very well. I just don't like it as a thing. And then the fact that Yaz is clearly kind of puppy dog enamoured with the Doctor at this point. They're not playing it up for a crush yet, but the whole like what would the Doctor do thing on a hand and everything.
Yeah.
Why
would she write that?
Why would she be there still?
Why would she write
Why
that?
was there a bed for two in the TARDIS? I mean, obviously it's the TARDIS producing a mattress that could fall onto it, but it's a bit like, hang on, wait a minute. I don't know. I think the Halloween Apocalypse is awful.
There's just too much going on.
Yeah. One thing that does work in this episode, and I think works out the whole series, is Jacob Anderson as Vinda. The idea of someone on this like watchtower at the edge of the known universe being one of the first to see the Flux dissolve a planet is like, oh my god!
That image of a planet being dissolved, that was really cool and scary.
Yeah, and again, I just, I think he's very good. He was a Grey Worm, wasn't he, in Game of Thrones?
That's what I recognise him from.
There we go.
I was just going to say, he's really cute. I recognise him from something.
I think Vinda's a really good addition to the show.
Oh my god, he looks totally different.
I think Vinda's a really good addition to the show.
Yeah.
If rumours to be believed, he was a replacement character to replace a story arc written about Jack. But I don't know how true that is, purely based on the fact that the Barrowman stuff kind of came around in early to mid 2021, and this series was in production from late 2020. That would be a lot of pivoting. I do have to say this, though, especially for Halloween Apocalypse, they get around the fact this was shot at the height of the pandemic restrictions really well.
Yeah.
It doesn't at any point really look like some shows did around the time where, like, suddenly Doctors or, EastEnders or whatever there'd be lots of over-the-shoulder conversation shots where the characters are clearly nowhere near each other.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame.
I mean, for history's sake, it's a good representation of like how they got around it.
Yeah, but I think this one manages it probably better because it looks pretty good. There obviously must have been a very strict schedule for isolation and who could be in whose bubble. So
yeah.
So I imagine just total speculation. Like Jodie and Mandip were probably in a bubble. Like John and Craig Carvanista were probably in a bubble.
Yeah.
Things like that. Which at the same time also means on shows like this, pre-production, they would have had to have gotten away from their family for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then post-production would have had to have stayed away from their family for 2 weeks. So it would have added to this production schedule.
Yeah.
And that's not just obviously everyone on camera, that's like the crew and hats off to them for getting this series made.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially because it was an 8-parter stripped back to a 6-parter and all this stuff. Unfortunately, Halloween Apocalypse isn't worth the time and effort they put in.
And I don't know why they put Halloween into the title.
Just
it was Halloween.
Just so Swarm could look down the barrel of like the Vision thing and go, trick or treat, Doctor, or whatever it was. That's why.
God. So stupid.
Now, read your notes. Dear boy.
Love the Liverpool Museum with Heart Eyes. I like that museum, okay? I've not got around the whole thing yet.
She likes museums.
The design of the bad guy,
Swarm?
I didn't know his name at the time, is so gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's burnt everywhere.
Oh, the first version of him, yeah.
It's like,
and then the
that's
second,
obviously how it's supposed to be, because I guess he burns people away, but...
Mm-hmm. And then the second version of him, sort of the craggy bits. And the fact that he's also kind of slightly weirdly shapen. It's like one of the shoulders is like further up and pointier. And who plays Swan? We've not given him a shout yet. Sam Spruell, he does a pretty good job. The problem with this series, minor spoiler for the rest of the series, Swan and Azure ultimately are pointless villains.
Mm.
But my God, those two have fun playing them. And as a result, they're some of the more memorable new creations of the modern era. Because you've got two actors going, give me that makeup, let's go. And having fun with it. But, yeah, meh.
I actually thought the intro was quite funny with Yaz
Yes,
and the
the
Doctor.
Doctor. I hated that. If I'm honest, I really disliked that. It just felt so busy.
Yeah, it was busy.
The sound mix was really bad. And
But the fact that the handcuffs released at the word relief, like
Yeah.
I heard it wrong.
And she was like, oh, maybe I got them when I was Scottish. And then she does a Sylvester, like, release! And it doesn't do anything. She goes, release! Like, so more angry, like, Aldi.
And then,
that's quite funny.
Then she says something like, oh,
that's a relief.
the TARDIS set up the mattress hospital or something about the mattress being on the floor. Well, that was a relief. I thought that was really funny.
I do wish they'd put some more shit on the handcuffs to make them look more sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
They just had a light on them. Is that it, really? It's like a little blue light.
They were in her pocket, weren't they?
Yeah, why? Why did she have two sets of handcuffs in her pocket?
Mm.
Why did the Seventh Doctor get two sets of handcuffs?
Whoa.
Yes, the Rani. We have to capture her for reasons.
Research. I wrote here, Yaz is a buzzkill because she was just angry for like the first 20 minutes.
But then it kind of switches around for me, and you're like, yeah, no wonder she is. So the Doctor's talking to her like this.
Glittery sister. I couldn't get over the fact that the character, obviously, the makeup was just glitter all around her eyes. She looked like a Christmas decoration. I wrote... Sorry, I'm tired, I can't stop yawning. I wrote, what is happening?
Yeah.
and we counted that there are 8 story threads.
Yeah.
In one episode, and it was like, what? Why? This is too much.
And then the second week follows 1.5 of them and introduces a new one.
Bloody hell. That was it. I need to say something controversial as well, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I don't like the way Fashionista looks.
Carvanista.
Oh, Carvanista.
Fashionista.
What did I say?
Fashionista.
What the hell? I'm a Carvanista.
Oh, that's a shame. I like it.
I think big fur people, it just looks wrong. I know it's obviously, like, not... I know, I don't know how to say it. I know it's meant to be a animal person, but I can't. It just looks really weird. I don't think it would ever look right.
Never would I think would come the day that you'd spend your time making this just furry bashing.
I am furry bashing. No, not really. You do you. But I don't know. It hampers their speech, and I just think that's just really annoying to me. Sorry.
Speaking of controversial takes, what did you think of War of the Sontarans?
I'm going to say something else controversial now.
Here we go.
I wrote in my notes, I'm sorry, Christopher, I hate the way the Sontarans look. I know they look more classic, but they just look like burnt potatoes. And it's not that it's bad makeup, or it's bad prosthetics or anything. I just don't like the way they look. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're not thinking of the Sontarans, you're talking about Joseph Williamson. Sontarans weren't the ones with the top hat and the wispy hair.
Oh.
Yeah, we forgot to mention him.
We forgot to mention that story. That's 9 stories.
Steve Oram
Jesus
comedy actor who's been in a shed load of things.
Why?
Including one of our favourite comedy shows. But I don't know who he played. I think I know who he played. Yes! Oh my god. Steve Oram. The comedy actor who's been in a bunch of stuff. He's playing Joseph Williamson in this, yeah. But he is in...
Matt Berry.
Adjacent. He is in one episode of The Mighty Boosh. Can you guess which one and who he plays?
Is it The Tale of Old Grey?
No.
Oh, I thought he was the fisherman behind the bar.
No, that's James Buchanan. How dare you?
Let me think.
The man who ignored Adam Buxton on a train.
Is it the first series?
No, third.
Oh, third. Oh, the worst one.
He's one of those characters. He's one of the characters that randomly. He's one of the characters who's randomly. It's in that episode.
Yeah.
He's one of the characters who's randomly summoned and saves the day and dies, like saving the day.
Oh shit! I don't know.
That is a beautiful cape.
That's what I said. Is he the binman?
He's not a binman. He's a homeless guy.
He's the homeless guy.
He's the homeless dude in the Crack Fox episode.
Oh crap!
This is electric soup.
Oh.
I'm the electric Superman.
Why did I think he was a bin man?
I don't know. Because it's a noble profession, that's why.
Was Howard a bin man or something?
Howard becomes a bin man in the episode.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
And the bins in the back garden all add up, and that's... Yeah, anyway.
Oh, yeah. That is a beautiful cape.
That's a beautiful cape.
We quote that a lot.
A pick, chop, and pun.
Oh, my God. That's what I was thinking of. Damn it.
Oh, God. He's fun in that. He's hamming it up like crazy in this. But every time someone sort of, like, faces him with the whole... You know, is everything all right? He really displays the genuine kind of like anxiety and fear that something is happening, and no one else seems to be able to grasp it. He plays that very well.
Just keeps pushing my life. And he's based on a real person, isn't he?
He is. Joseph William was a real ass mother lumper.
He was a real ass.
The King of Edge Hill. His philanthropy earned him the nickname of the King of Edge Hill, whilst his tunnel building earned him the posthumous nicknames of the Mole of Edge Hill and the Mad Mole. Because no one really knows why he did what he did.
That's nuts. And it's bothering
And that's
me.
Chris Chibnall going, well, I can make up what he did, because this is a fascinating person. Let's talk about it.
That's bothering me that nobody knows why he did it.
Yeah.
And we'll never know.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's cool, though. Sometimes it's cool that there's mysteries. So you don't like the Sontarans design? I love the Sontarans design.
I know you do.
I think this is the best they've ever looked. Like, my favourite is still how Commander Lynx looks in the Time Warrior. That's my favourite look for them. But as far as like a modern translation of that, I really dig this. But they're leaning a bit more into sort of the knight in shining armour kind of vibe. Yeah. But with that dumpier, thicker, broader shoulder look, and the darker makeup looking more like his mask design. I find it weird their fingers are so little. I mean, Lynx had sort of pointy gloves. It's like the fingers pointed out, but these guys look like they've got really tiny fingers.
I didn't notice, to be honest.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to ride a horse. He's excellent.
That was my favourite thing of the episode.
He's so good. That's Jonathan Watson as Skak and Commander Rixor. And we also have Dan Starkey as Svild.
Is that the prisoner one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the Sontarans have done quite well here. I like the idea that we learn that they were aware that the Flux was going to happen, and that if they could get into a planet that was protected, like the Lupari protect Earth, they essentially could take advantage of the fact that time is being affected by the events of the Flux, and set up encampment. They're going to turn Earth into a base. And they've arrived at certain little periods to establish that. One of which is in modern day in Liverpool. One of which is during the Crimean War. Which is just a brilliant idea for a Sontaran story. A conflict that ultimately was pointless between several countries. Oh look, a species that love war and would look for an excuse for a scrap. Brilliant.
A scrap.
Great idea.
Potato.
The way that they don't go toward Madame Teresa and they instead focus on Mary Seacole. Brilliant.
She was great.
Fantastic. Played by Sarah Powell, does a great job. Again, Chibnall going, can we talk about female figures in history that don't really get talked about as much?
Yeah, love it.
But I love that he does that.
Yeah.
So that carries on with this one. Of course, she gets more of a featured role. We learn about her hotel.
What was it? The Britain Hotel? Or something? The England... no, it's Britain, wasn't it?
Can't remember what it's called now. Oh my god, my brain's melting. Here's some of your pros for this episode. Here's some of your pros for this episode. What did you like about it? The British Hotel.
British Hotel, yeah. I liked her. Mary... What was her name?
Mary Seacole.
Mary Seacole, yeah. She was good. The Sontarans riding horses, that was scary, but also funny.
Mm-hmm.
The commander guy, he had some comical moments, but then was an arsehole.
He was very well played as well by...
he pretty much sent his men into die.
Gerald Kidd as General Logan. Yeah, he's a really good job.
To die.
But that's kind of the thing, he's shell-shocked after it happens. And he only escapes because he fakes death. Problem is, we get more of that weird skewed morality from this era, where the Doctor actually faces the Sontarans down, threatens them by ruining their recharge supplies, which forces them to retreat. And then he kills them. And she's like, they were leaving. And he's like, so it's what they deserve. And it's like, oh, right, so... Oh, okay. Like, there's so many times where it's like, and then a person does a horrid thing...
And the Doctor disapproves.
And the Doctor's like, oh... And that's how it ends. And you're like, we've done that a lot now.
Yeah. Instead of doing that, give us an alternative, like, thing they could have done. So, like, slap the gun down and, like, do something else. Like put their engine into warp drive and send them to fuck off.
I like the idea that they arrive there, the TARDIS is freaking out, its door has vanished. We don't really know how they escaped the Flux. The TARDIS officer just gone, yeet! And taken them somewhere to hide. And then because time is being affected, Yaz and Dan just get zapped away. Yaz ends up at the Temple of Atropos. I like that side plot. She and Vinda have both been randomly zapped there as everything's going all squiggly, and that's how their story connects. Temple of Atropos, we learn more about at the end, but it is where the Mori, as they're called, these beings, essentially psychically, spiritually, or something, hold together the flow of time. And we learn that time is basically a not physical, but a working component of universal existence. And they exist to channel it. So they're the sacred timeline, they're the TVA, it's that kind of thing.
That's what it was making me think of.
But it's like, wait, hang on. That's really rewriting the rules of how the Doctor Who universe has worked.
Yeah, how would they have never come into this before?
And we learn through flashbacks and stuff in the way that Swarm as your talk, that time will never conquer space. Wait, is space a thing as well? What?
What is
now,
space?
We'll learn more going on, but it's like, But I don't hate the idea of, in a universe where we have people who've existed since the dawn of time who play weird games on humanity to entertain themselves and fly pirate ships across the stars to keep themselves occupied. Like, fine. There's beings that channel what time is since it began. Sure. And 2 of them have been taken out of commission, and you've got those little robots that are like, can you repair? I think they're great.
They look like terrariums upside down.
They are great. Who are they voiced by? Priest Triangle, voiced by Nigel Richard Lambert, is the voice performer for those. They're brilliant. Like, I really, really like them. There's a great vibe to that. It feels very classic Doctor Who. And the idea that just like 2 of them are dead or have crumbled or the Flux has taken them or something. And by the end of it, Swarm and Azure have basically put Vinda and Yaz into those positions. That's intimidating, that's creepy.
Yaz's makeup looks really cool.
Yeah, makes for a great cliffhanger as well.
Yeah, she looked really, really cool with that makeup.
This is why I'm a bit like, that you didn't enjoy this episode overall, because...
I didn't say I didn't enjoy it.
Good, it was just Sontaran. Okay.
I just didn't like the way the Sontarans look.
We also meet Neville and Eileen, Dan's parents.
Neville,
who are
Eileen? Sorry.
What?
Neville, Eileen.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you just say, come on, Eileen? Like, that's the song. Because of Neville. Oh, jeez. You're involving Neville. He's the one who's going to... Never mind. Interesting fact, Sue Jenkins is 9 years older than John Bishop. God, she had him young. So weird.
Been a crime committed.
Oh, no. Someone check Neville's police record. Someone check his hard drive.
No.
I love the fact that they figured out how to hurt Sontarans, and they have a wok, which they give to Dan and be like, "There you go."
Woks are heavy.
Wok that off, or whatever it was.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, that sequence.
The joint sequence with the Doctor and Mary Seacole on the Sontaran ship and Dan on the Sontaran ship. That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's
really good.
But
the Pierhead stuff is so funny. You get to see the Sontarans be ruthless, the way they execute their own, the way that they kill those humans on the dock. But you also then have scenes where like 12 of them are chasing after Dan in a street and none of them hit him with gunfire.
That's spectacular.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Worse than stormtroopers.
Like if it was one or two Sontarans, fair enough, because you could have him sort of darting back and forth.
Yeah. He wasn't zigzagging or anything.
No, he's just pelting forward and they all miss him. It's
there's like 8 of them.
That's awful. But then later on they show scenes where it's like, oh god, no, they are ruthless. The massacre of the actual fight is brilliant. One of the best shots in the show's history is the British troops and the Sontarans.
Yeah, that looked good, yeah.
Like
on the battlefield.
Charging toward one another. That shot is incredible. And I think, yes, Jamie Magnus Stone, again, I think he directs the crap out of this episode. It looks really good. But
I think it definitely slowed down.
It kind of... The ending almost rushes to get to the B plot, because the B plot is what's going to lead us into the next part. Like it feels like we leave Mary Seacole behind and stuff with like barely a word. Yeah,
but don't they disappear?
No, the Doctor goes to the TARDIS.
Oh, so don't we say goodbye to her?
No, she's tending to the wounded. I don't know.
I can't remember.
And it's also weird because it's the idea of like we're learning about history, but also history's been changed.
Yeah.
Because like Russia doesn't exist. There is
but they recognise it. They recognise the word.
They vaguely recall it because somewhere in their memory is this thing.
I hope kids don't think Sontarans actually were in the Crimean War.
I enjoy this one a lot, but I would love to have seen a version of it that isn't in the Flux saga.
Yeah. Just
a story where Sontarans show up in the Crimean War. Because you could get away with that and be like, yeah, no, it happened. It's just not on record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fun for the most part. And the way the B plot does tie in, because we have, of course, the whole thing of Swarm being like, yeah, this is our final battle. And the Doctor's like, I don't know who you are. But, of course, we've learned by this point that Carvin East is part of Division. The Doctor wants information about Division because she wants to know more about her unwritten past.
Yeah.
And Swarm was an enemy of Division that the Doctor presumably put away, which we learn about in Once Upon a Time. But have you got any notes on more of the Sontarans before we move on to the last story of this video?
I've got a couple.
Yep. Also, I wanted to ride a horse. Is one of the greatest line readings in Doctor Who.
That was my favourite bit of the episode. I've already said them really. I'm sorry, Christopher, I hate the way the Sontarans look. Love Mary...
Seacole,
yeah.
Love her so much, I can't be asked to memorise her name.
No. Don't forget poop. Sontarans are terrible shots. Yaz's makeup is cool.
Yes.
That was it. The end.
Once Upon a Time. This one is kind of weirdly...
What did you say?
Once Upon Time.
I thought you said Upon a Time.
This one is weirdly kind of disregarded / not seen as anything special by a lot of the fandom from my recollection.
I just need to point out, when we were on the menu for this episode, Christopher was like, what's this episode called?
Because you were writing your notes down, you're like, what are the titles? And I was like, they're up there.
I was like, Once Upon a Time. He was like, no. Read it again. Once Upon a Time.
I was like, read it.
Read it. Like, oh yeah. I mean, not Chris, read it. I was like, oh yeah.
It was very funny, because it was that you're so...
I was getting frustrated.
It's so Pavlovian, the phrase Once Upon a Time, that like, you just couldn't see anything other than that, despite the screen saying once, upon time.
I thought you wanted me to say it like...
What? Zeus, he's your daddy.
What's his name?
Danny DeVito.
No, Phil.
Philatides.
Philatides, that's it. Call me Phil. Sorry.
I'm a sucker for dream sequence episodes and nightmare episodes. I quite liked Can You Hear Me from last series, for example. Those kind of episodes can provide a lot of fun. This one's not so much fun, but this is the first of the three where I felt like it was worth the time spent in this story.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one.
Because we got to know everyone.
Yeah.
Finally. Like, Yaz's thread is sort of throwaway in the sense that it's mostly just setting up the events of the next episode.
Yeah.
But we got to see a little bit of her life as a copper and a little bit of her time with her sister. So we get to see...
happened.
Yeah, we get... Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We get to see... what do you call it? What's the name? Sonia. We get to see Sonia again. Bhavnisha Parmar reprising the role. She's great. Whenever she shows up, she's really good.
Sassy.
And that's the thing, isn't it? As the scene goes on, when she speaks to the doctor, we learn that this interaction with Sonia hasn't happened, and it's in a house she doesn't recognise. So it's something in one of their futures. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I like the fact they're playing like a retro video game.
Yeah.
That sort of looks like a Quake or Doom 2 or something.
Yeah.
Why was she playing games? Oh, she was learning how to play games. Because there was a guy she'd been on a date with who she really liked who loves games. So she wanted to kind of be better at them so they could play games together.
Yeah.
But then when Yaz called them video games, she went, no one calls them video games. It's like...
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
What else do they call them?
It's like they don't just call them games. That was a bit weird. I think Azur Salim directs this one quite well, despite one choice that is a bit daft, which is the Doctor in sort of the flow of time. He's just sort of dangling there. And then when she shows up in Vinder's flashback, she's like, don't pay me no attention, I'm just trying to this, that, and the other. Or don't be alarmed, it's like, it's just Jodie Whittaker floating with her legs flailing all over the place.
Weird.
So strange. This episode does, unfortunately, I feel, show the limitations of COVID-era filming.
I quite liked that, though, because it was like...
Well, I don't mean in terms of all the actors multi-rolling. I think that's great. But I mean in terms of the shot setups are a bit obvious. Like when Vinder's being questioned by...
interviewed.
Does he have a character name?
The General.
No, I'm looking him up. Passenger... No, he doesn't have a character name. When he's being questioned by, like, that guy, yeah?
Yeah.
And it also looks like Yaz.
Yeah.
It's very obvious it's just locked off shots with only one actor on set. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of that. Like, I know it's obviously meant to be dream sequency, but like a lot of the stuff with Diane and Dan it's so void of people. I know the last one's meant to be because it's like the steps of the museum.
Yeah.
But with the Temple of Atropos kind of on the front of it. But like they go for a walk through the ruins of a cathedral. They meet outside the museum and there's like two people in the far distance. It's just a little obvious. Like even the scenes with the Grand Serpent, no one really shares a frame for too long. So I like that we get to meet Vinder properly and learn his backstory. And that he's a person of principle.
Yeah.
He's asked to overlook essentially a horrid political interaction.
Yeah, break the rules.
Yeah, and he refuses to do it. And because of that, he essentially gets shoved out into a post of nothingness where he's not going to be able to see anybody for a few years. Which is bad timing because we learn his partner is with child. His partner is with their, quote, as yet unborn child.
Such a weird...
Unquote. Such an awful line of dialogue.
Weird line.
The Grand Serpent, played by Craig Parkinson. Yep, just the right level of seedy arsehole villain kind of character. You get him instantly.
Can't figure out who he looks like. Can't remember what he
Benedict Cumberbatch.
He doesn't look like Benedict Cumberbatch. He's a presenter of something.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen Whitechapel, right?
I watched the first season.
Yeah, so he's in that.
A long time ago.
Four Lions. Remember him being in Four Lions?
It was in 4 Lions.
Oh, he's the police officer, I think. Oh, my brain's melting now. Black Books, he's Martin the Tout. Oh God, he was in Misfits. Oh yeah. Cost been years.
It's been a lot of things, basically.
He's been in many, many things. He's great, and you will see more of him.
As the Serpent?
As the Grand Serpent, yes.
Oh. I was going to say, because that felt too quick, really.
I mean, it worked for Vinder's backstory, the idea of, like, we meet a powerful person who we basically pissed off by having morals. So it worked, but it does feel a bit like, oh, shame we didn't see more.
Yeah.
There's more.
Okay.
But it ties more into the Flux plot than his own plot. We'll see. Dan's story with Diane's great because that's the one that's the most kind of nightmare leaning. Because we learn of Passenger and that Diane is a prisoner in Passenger.
Mm.
And his sort of dream sequence, flashback sequence starts to break down because the Atropos is like iconography's on the museum. And halfway through their lovely conversation, she's like, why didn't you save me?
Mm.
And stuff like that, which is obviously what's in his head and is freaking him out. I really like the fact we learn about a bit more about his life. She's like, how's a guy like you not married with 3 kids already?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, there was someone and we were engaged, and like 2 days before the wedding she called it off, pulled out, and was like, I can't imagine spending the rest of my life with you. And you know, he has that moment where he says like, I loved her. And you sort of really get the sense of, this is a guy who's lived a life. Like, he is in his 40s, 50s, he's lived a life. And he's, you know, he's just a very positive person.
Yeah, he's so nice.
And that's what's got him through everything. And when he reflects, he actually does get a bit like, oh, that sucks. I get the feeling that the Doctor appearing to him at the docks was meant to be her on the water. But they don't shoot it like that. Like, based on the geography of the shot, she'd be past where the chains are in the lock.
Yeah.
But you don't see that.
No.
It's so weird. But obviously the meat of this one is twofold. It's Belle's story. Belle, played by Thadia Graham, who's great. I think she's great. I like this little side quest story. I like that we are finally seeing what the Flux looks like.
Mm.
What the Flux? We're finally seeing what it looks like from the POV of someone who's still out there. She's travelling through areas and worlds that the Flux skirted past and basically erased parts of them or wiped out clumps of people.
Yeah.
And that there's this sort of afterburn stuff, those blue crystals that are eating the things that are left. So that's creepy.
Very.
We get
it's like a swarm of like flies almost.
We get our totally not legally mandated appearance of the Daleks, who now have those stupid little like nubbins instead of the plungers. I hate that. I hate it. Give them plungers. They're also way too shiny.
Very shiny.
I know it's because they're CGI and they just put them in the shots afterwards, but they're way too shiny. They need to be a bit darker in the colour scheme. But whatever, they look nice. They just look a bit too shiny. We get to see the Cyber Warriors in motion. Mm. So I guess some of them got away and are out there doing their thing.
Spiky shoulder boys.
Her taking them down was really cool.
That was a really cool sequence.
Like the fight. You said big Star Wars vibes.
Yeah.
Especially like Mandalorian TV series Star Wars kind of vibes. Her interrogating it and basically being like, love is the only mission, and then like the fact that she headshots from underneath the one in the doorway, interrogates the one that's dying, and then just multi-shots it to death is really cool. I like the little reveal. I think you definitely did. And I remember when I watched it, I think I figured it out before she says it outright. That Tigme's not a computer. It's a life support, like, little update thing on her kid. On her baba.
Imagine if that were, like, a real thing. How fucking cute would that be? It's like a Tamagotchi, but the Tamagotchi is your baby.
It's just letting you know how it's getting on.
And how it's feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, stop. That's the cutest thing ever. You can see that it's happy.
And the reveal that Belle is Vinder's partner and they're trying to reunite and that she might still be out there somewhere.
She's very cute, by the way. She's like a kitten.
A violent shooting kitten.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Doctor's story. Her first visit to the Temple of Atropos. Did they say the name of the planet?
I'm not sure.
I'll have a quick look
It
at the
looks
last
a bit
episode.
like, generic planet, like wasteland, but with big rocks and there's a temple in it.
Mm.
It just looks like that, to be honest. So it probably doesn't need a name.
Hang on.
Planetos. As if it was.
Can't seem to find the name.
I'm entertaining you whilst Christopher is looking at things on his phone.
I'm trying to find it out, but it's not there. Never
Ooh.
mind. So my brain's melting. The first assault on that place when we learnt that Swarm and Azure, who we now know as the Ravagers, which caused a lot of confusion at the time because the first Ninth Doctor Big Finish box set came out and it's called The Ravagers, and it was about villains, creatures called the Ravagers. And then everyone was like, "Oh my god, are they tying it in?" It's like, it has nothing to do with it.
That's weird.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That seems like a big oversight for them to make.
Well, keep in mind, Big Finish isn't canon. Sorry, it's not. Big Finish, it's only canon if the show acknowledges it. So some of the Eighth Doctor's companions are canon. There you go. Enjoy it though; it's completely valid, but it's not canon. It's just a shame that there wasn't kind of maybe one of us should change the name here.
Yeah.
Especially because Swarm and Azure being called the Ravagers doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we learn that at some point they took over Temple of Atropos.
Aren't they more like scavengers, if anything?
Maybe, I don't know.
Weird.
The Destructors, I don't know, whatever.
The sparkly people.
Glitter Boys!
The Twilight aliens.
They took hostage millions of people in passengers and held the Temple of Atropos hostage.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doctor, as part of a fleet, a crack team from Division, arrived to stop them, revealing that one of the passengers was a decoy sent there by the Doctor that contained the Mori, who then zap in, regain the flow of time, take it off of the Ravagers, and then they trap the Ravagers and imprison them and imprison Swarm and exile Azure. We don't learn of the team fully, but the one that is played by Dan very briefly flashes up to reveal that it was Carvanista. So we now know that Carvanista not only is a member of Division, or has been, but was the Doctor's friend.
Mm.
So that at least adds a mystery of, right, what's going on here? Why? Why?
She might not remember, but he does.
Yeah, so what's going on? Why is he so quiet about this? But we also learn from the fact that, obviously the Time Lords are time sensitive, that inside this memory / reliving of the moment, the Doctor who is actually there is going, "What the hell are you doing here?" In the reflections and in their head. So we get more Jo Martin! Yes!
She's great as well, and I can imagine her being there.
Yeah, they give you glimpses of that, which I think it's quite poorly composited green screening. It doesn't look bad, but it's very obviously green screening. They haven't shot with both actors on set and then kept the camera locked off and stuff. They've shot Jo elsewhere and composited her into the shots. Because
I think the fact that
proportion-wise, it doesn't quite work. She is definitely taller than Jodie,
yeah.
and she isn't when they're phasing in and out of each other. It looks really weird. What?
They phase out in and out of each other, in person or in the mirror?
No, in the scenes at the end when she confronts Swarm, the Doctor's confronting Swarm, and it keeps cutting back to how the Doctor actually looks. Because Jodie's written and acting like Jo Martin in those scenes.
Sorry, I remembered, it's a bit like, almost like holograms, just like...
Yeah, sort of just fizzing
in and out, yeah.
And that's there for our benefit to remind us that it's this Doctor that was here.
But it would definitely be what?
This is the last story as well to get a dedicated action figure. Oh, sorry, that's a lie. There was one for Power of the Doctor. As of this recording, this was the last story to get a dedicated action figure of this era, because a B&M set came out with a holographic Weeping Angel, which is based on this episode, although it's just light blue see-through plastic, but that's still the point. A Yaz shorter hair based on this episode, and the Doctor in the reverse coat. And when those sets went on reduction, I went, do you know what, I'm going to go out and buy one, so we can have it for our props. And they'd already been bought. Bloody scalpers.
It seems really strange because you would think that the characters in this era would make great...
Carvanista does not have a toy, and that's a crime.
Nuts, yeah.
The Sontarans of this era don't have toys.
The
Master has never been an action figure. We do not have a Joe Martin Doctor.
Yeah, we don't have a Swarm or a
Swarm and Azure. Imagine them as a 2-pack.
Yeah, they'd have been great.
Been great. But anyway.
The guys with green hair.
No.
That cat lady.
No.
Squirrel.
No.
Lady.
No. The dregs. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The Sidemen. We were talking that they made a great.
We've not had them yet. Yeah. I like this story because it actually gives us more context. I hate how the Doctor's so nasty out the back of it.
Yeah.
Though I do like the fact that her poking around gets the attention of... Let's see how the character's credited here. Oh, they're not. Yeah. A mysterious character takes him to one side and goes, "What are you doing? Stop it. Stop it." Besides, the Flux was created intentionally. Just let it happen. Oh, by the way, it was created because of you. What? Bye.
See ya.
The Doctor's like, what? And then our cliffhanger is them getting out of there. They send Vinda to try and find Belle. Belle is no longer there. It's been a while since the scene we saw of Belle there. But Vinda has a hunch, so he's going to look for her. And the Doctor, Dan and Yaz are like, right, we need to do X, Y, Z. Wait a minute! The Weeping Angel's now in Yaz's phone.
Oh no!
It zaps out of the phone. It takes control of the TARDIS. And she says, "The Angel has the TARDIS." And it's like, I'm sorry. No. If you want to set that up properly, you have Dan not refer to it as the TARDIS. He just keeps calling it the police box for 2 episodes. And then have him go, "The Angel's got the phone box!" And then everyone at home would go, Leonardo DiCaprio gif pointing at television. And we all would have cheered. Because if you're going to do a reference to Blink, use the proper quote. I think Once Upon a Time's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fun, yeah.
Because it actually gives us a bit of context to what the hell's going on. What are your notes, dear boy?
My notes.
How have you lost the thing that was on your lap?
There was a blanket involved.
A Halloween blanket. The Halloween blanket apocalypse.
The opening of... What are you doing? Oh, can you see that?
Yeah.
The opening scene is of Belle going round the forest.
Is Belle going around the forest?
What did I say?
Isabel.
Is Belle, that's what I meant to say.
Isabel.
Is going around the forest, and I was like, this is very Hunger Games feeling, because she saw 2 other people, and then they got killed by the swarmy blue light thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got Hunger Game feelings. Beautiful lighting and colours, because it looked amazing, the foresty bit.
Yeah.
I wrote Bella's adorable.
Yeah.
Dan's cute with the coffee, because he happened to have the coffee
the exact
that she
type
likes.
that Diane likes.
Yeah, which I thought was really cute. The baddies looked like they were in a crystal shop when it exploded. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're completely right.
The passenger, Amazon Thanos.
Amazon Thanos, yes! I'll take that.
Because the mask was available on...
I am the passenger. I'm on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, the mask is...
Just search Skull Mask and scroll down the page. You'll find me, and I'm still quite affordable. La 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 la.
Yeah, use what you can, but yeah, that seems bizarre. And he looked a bit like Thanos. The set of the ship with the Cybermen on is very Star Warsy and pretty, is what I wrote. You know, with Belle.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And because I didn't make too many notes of these because I was busy watching them. Well, yeah. That's it, man.
Flux is off to a mixed start.
Mm.
But will it redeem itself in the second half?
No.
Right. What do you think of Flux Part 1? Let us know in the comments down below. We're going to go now and watch Part 2. So, have a good one. Look at that little
I can't see the camera, so I don't know. If
the little thumb of fun in the corner there. little fun thumb. Disgusting. We'll see you later.